Hey guys, it's Alex VA back here with part 4 of the Carl X listener. Because she is on like a really big cliffhanger, I'm not gonna speak so much in this intro, so let's get into it. As Carl goes to grab the girl that you think is your sister May's mask and starts to pull it down while pulling her head off. And after it's down, you drop your gun and drop to your knees as you realize that it is her. Carl quickly ran over to you, trying to help you back up as you were too stubborn to. You looked her in the eyes as your eyes filled with tears, realizing that your sister tried to kill you. It took May a bit, but she finally realized who you were. Tears started to fill the brim of her eyes as she held her head down and started to sob. After a few minutes, you finally get back up and walk over and grab your gun. As you put it back into the holster, you look at her and look away. You had so many questions. Why she ran away, who those people were, why she was with them. But nothing came out of your mouth. You walked over to Carl as you gave him your gun and walked out. The only thing you had to protect yourself was a knife. The gunfire had mild down, so you thought that maybe whoever was attacking you guys had left. As you walked through the streets full of dead, bloody people, you came across a bandana. Looking down at it, you picked it up, examining it just a bit. It looked familiar. You looked around on it for a bit more until you realized it had your whole family, including your initials, sewn onto the inside of it. You grabbed and clenched the bandana in your fists as you walked back over to Carl's house and walked inside. As you dropped it in front of May's face, you looked down at her in disgust. You couldn't believe that not only did she watch and let your stepdad kill himself, but she took the family bandana too. You finally got the courage as you knelt down at her height, made her look up at you, and you finally asked that question. Why did you run off? Because you're weak, listener. I could have survived better on my own, and I did. I bet if it weren't for that guy behind you. Yeah, I can tell that you guys are already pretty good friends. Bet you would have died from a walker by then, huh? Yeah, don't think I noticed your ankle. You got up, staring down at her as you looked away and walked over to Carl, slowly gesturing for your gun. As he slowly gave it to you, you looked at her and held it up to her head. I'm gonna voice you guys for this next part. I'm sorry that I've been voicing you guys a lot. It's just that I feel like it just makes sense in like the Walking Dead type thing. So I'm sorry. I understand that some of you guys don't like that, but I am gonna voice you guys for this part. May, I've killed one family member and I won't hesitate to do it again. Do you understand? Now you're going to listen to me and you're going to answer all of the questions that Carl and I ask truthfully. Now, tell me, who were those people? May stayed silent as Carl watched you holding the gun up to her head, almost kind of feeling proud, like you're taking matters into your own hands. May finally answered you, mumbling something under her breath as you held the gun up closer to her head. She finally shouted out a word. You smiled and then asked, "Who are the wolves, May, and why are you with them?" Listener, please, I'm your sister. Fine. They're a group. I thought they were fine, but when they started raiding camps for food and killing people, I couldn't stay back. They took me in when I ran away. They found me a couple weeks after, and I stayed with them since. You looked at her, glaring down as you took the gun away from her head and put it in your holster, then grabbing the rope that you tied her up with, pulling her up and taking her downstairs and locking her down there. Listener, what are you doing? We can't take any chances, Carl. If she gets out, the wolves find out that we have her. They'll come for us. Again, we don't want that. No. Where's Enid? Shit, you're right. Where is Enid? Enid! Enid! Carl continued to search downstairs as you went upstairs to where Judith was, and by her door you saw a note saying, "Try to survive on your own." You grabbed the note as you ran downstairs, handing it to Carl. Carl stared at it in disbelief. You looked up at him and shook your head. You started to walk towards the door as he grabbed your wrist. Listener, please, don't go out there. I know the gunshots stopped, but you never know. There still could be people out there, and I don't want to lose you. Just stay here, please. Thank you. I'll stay down here and keep an eye on the basement. You go and check on Judith. You sigh as you slowly nod your head and he lets go of your wrists. You walk upstairs and into Judith's room where you can see her standing in her crib. You pick her up and you start to hum a little song to her as you walk down the stairs. Carl's standing there by the door with his gun in hand as he watches you. A little smile creeps across his face and his cheeks turn bright red. But they quickly go away as you look at him and you smile a bit. You look at Judith and you start saying things like, "Look at little big brother," or things like that, or "Look, your big brother is protecting you," and stuff like that, and Carl can't help but laugh. He can't keep a straight face. You both kind of just look at each other, you holding Judith in hand. You set her down as you walk up to Carl and give him a hug. So I'm gonna voice you guys for the end because, yeah, I just feel like it can make a little bit more sense, but yeah. I'm glad you and your dad were the one to find me. I don't know what I'd do if it wasn't. I'm glad to have you, Carl. I'm glad to have you too, listener. You feel Carl's arms wrap around your waist a bit, squeeze. As you smile, even though you haven't had a hug in years. And you're glad that you were able to get one from Carl for the first time in forever. You nuzzle your nose into his neck as you feel his warmth radiating into your body. You'd hope this lasts forever. As your cheeks start to dust to pink, then you finally let go and look up at Carl. I'll go feed Judith. You stay here, okay? You give him a kiss on the cheek as you slowly walk off into the other direction, picking up Judith from the floor and going over to the pantry to grab some formula and making a bottle of formula for Judith. Carl can't help but smile watching you do this, as he realizes he's fallen for you. And he's fallen hard. And that's the end of part 4. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh my god, Carl's actually falling in love with you. Look at that. But I hope this makes up for the last cliffhanger I did. I know the cliffhanger's like basically just as bad, but there's a little fluff in there, a little angst. Yeah, I added Judith at least. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in part 5. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your morning, day, or night. Bye bye.